My name is Cassandra Wright. I'm 40 years old, and I'm about to tell you the story of how my family faked my sister's illness for 25 years, what I went through because of it, and what happened when I finally found the proof. I was 15 years old when my sister, Emily, got sick. She was 13. She was always the favorite. She was always the one my parents loved more. She was the golden child. I was the invisible one. I was the one who didn't matter. I was the one who was never seen. But then she got sick. She had a rare disease. She needed constant care. She needed constant attention. She needed everything. My parents gave her everything. They gave her attention. They gave her money. They gave her love. They gave her everything I never had. I was invisible. I was ignored. I was forgotten. I was the one who didn't matter. I was the one who was always in the background. I was the one who was never seen. I didn't complain. I didn't argue. I just accepted it. That was the way it was. That was the way it had always been. That was the way it would always be. My mother said, "Cassandra, your sister is sick. She needs more attention. She needs more care. She needs more love. You need to understand that." My father said, "Cassandra, you're the strong one. You're the one who can handle things. Your sister is fragile. She needs us." I said, "Dad, I need you too. I need you to see me. I need you to love me. I need you to care about me." He said, "Cassandra, you're being selfish. Your sister is sick. She needs everything. You need to be more understanding." I was 15 years old. I was a child. I needed my parents, but they weren't there for me. They were never there for me. They were only there for Emily. They were only there for the sick one. They were only there for the golden child. I remember the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday. I came home from school. I was excited. I had gotten an A on a test. I wanted to show my parents. I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted them to see me. I walked into the house. My mother was on the phone. She was talking to someone about Emily. She was crying. She was saying how hard it was. She was saying how much Emily needed her. She was saying how she couldn't handle it all. My father was sitting on the couch. He was holding Emily's hand. He was stroking her hair. He was telling her everything was going to be okay. He was giving her all his attention. He was giving her all his love. I stood in the doorway. I held up my test. I said, "Mom, Dad, look. I got an A." My mother didn't even look up. She waved her hand. She said, "Not now, Cassandra. Can't you see I'm on the phone?" My father didn't even look at me. He kept stroking Emily's hair. He kept telling her everything was going to be okay. He kept giving her all his attention. I stood there for a long time. I held my test. I waited. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted them to love me. But they didn't. They never did. For 25 years, I was invisible. For 25 years, I was ignored. For 25 years, I was forgotten. For 25 years, I was nothing. My parents gave everything to Emily. They gave her attention. They gave her money. They gave her love. They gave her everything. I got nothing. I got no attention. I got no money. I got no love. I got nothing. I graduated high school. My parents didn't come. They were too busy with Emily. They were too busy taking care of her. I graduated college. My parents didn't come. They were too busy with Emily. They were too busy taking care of her. I got married. My parents didn't come. They were too busy with Emily. They were too busy taking care of her. I had children. My parents didn't visit. They were too busy with Emily. They were too busy taking care of her. I called my mother once. I said, "Mom, I need you. I need you to be there for me. I need you to care about me." She said, "Cassandra, I don't have time for this. Your sister is sick. She needs everything. You need to understand that." I said, "Mom, I've been understanding for 25 years. I've been invisible for 25 years. I've been ignored for 25 years. I can't do it anymore." She said, "Cassandra, you're being dramatic. You're just like your father. You always make everything about yourself." I was 40 years old. I was still invisible. I was still ignored. I was still forgotten. I was still nothing. I remember my wedding day. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I was marrying the man I loved. I was starting a new life. I was finally going to be happy. But my parents weren't there. They were with Emily. They were taking her to another doctor. They were trying to find a cure for her. They were trying to save her life. They weren't there for me. They were never there for me. I walked down the aisle alone. I said my vows. I exchanged rings. I became a wife. But my parents weren't there. They were with Emily. They were always with Emily. I called my mother that night. I said, "Mom, I got married today." She said, "That's nice, Cassandra. How was it?" I said, "It was beautiful, Mom. I wish you had been there." She said, "I'm sorry, Cassandra. We couldn't make it. Emily had another appointment. She needed us." I said, "Mom, I needed you too." She said, "Cassandra, you're strong. You can handle things. Emily can't. She needs us. You need to understand that." I understood. I understood that I was never going to be a priority. I was never going to be important. I was never going to be loved. When I was 40 years old, I started to suspect something. I started to suspect that Emily wasn't really sick. I started to suspect that my parents were lying. I noticed things. I noticed that Emily was always getting better when she wanted something. I noticed that Emily was always getting worse when she wasn't getting attention. I noticed that Emily was always getting sick when my parents weren't paying attention to her. I noticed that Emily went to 25 different doctors in 25 years. I noticed that she never stuck with one doctor. I noticed that she was always looking for a new one. I noticed that my mother was always the one who took her to the appointments. I noticed that my father was always the one who paid for everything. I noticed that they never questioned anything. I noticed that they never asked questions. I noticed that they never got second opinions. I noticed that they never did anything that would challenge the narrative. I started to ask questions. I said, "Mom, what exactly is wrong with Emily? What disease does she have?" My mother said, "Cassandra, she has a rare disease. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand." I said, "Mom, I'm an adult. I can understand. Just tell me what it is." She said, "Cassandra, it's a medical condition. It's private. It's between Emily and the doctors. You don't need to know." I said, "Mom, I'm her sister. I have a right to know." She said, "Cassandra, you don't have a right to anything. You're not a doctor. You're not part of her medical team. Stay out of it." I was hurt. I was angry. I was frustrated. I didn't understand why they were being so secretive. I didn't understand why they wouldn't tell me anything. I started to investigate. I started to look for proof. I started to look for evidence. I went to the hospitals. I went to the clinics. I went to the doctor's offices. I asked questions. I found answers. I found out that Emily had been to 25 different doctors in 25 years. I found out that she had never been diagnosed with anything. I found out that she had never had any real treatment. I found out that she had never been sick. I found out that she had never had any disease. I found out that my mother had been making it up. She had been faking Emily's illness. She had been creating symptoms. She had been lying to everyone. She had been lying to the doctors. She had been lying to the family. She had been lying to everyone. I was shocked. I was hurt. I was angry. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my own mother had been lying for 25 years. I went to my mother. I said, "Mom, I know the truth. I know Emily was never sick. I know you made it up. I know you've been lying for 25 years. My mother said, "Cassandra, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You're making things up." I said, "Mom, I have proof. I have evidence. I went to the doctors. I saw the records. I know everything." My mother said, "Cassandra, you're lying. You're trying to destroy this family. You're trying to destroy your sister." I said, "Mom, I'm not the one who destroyed this family. You are. You destroyed it with your lies. You destroyed it with your fake illness. You destroyed it with your manipulation." My mother started to cry. She said, "Cassandra, you don't understand. I was trying to help. I was trying to protect her. I said, Mom, you weren't protecting her. You were using her. You were using her to get attention. You were using her to get sympathy. You were using her to get everything you wanted. I was 40 years old when I met Dr. Thompson. He was a doctor who had treated Emily 15 years earlier. He was 75 years old. He was retired. He had been a doctor for 45 years. He said, Cassandra, I know you. I remember you. I remember your sister. I remember everything. I said, Dr. Thompson, I need to ask you something. Was Emily ever really sick? Was she ever really ill? He said, Cassandra, I've been waiting for you to ask that question. I've been waiting for 15 years. He reached into his drawer. He pulled out a file. It was thick. It was full of papers. It was full of everything. He said, Cassandra, I have a file on your sister. I have a file on your mother. I have a file on everything. I've been keeping it for 15 years. I wanted someone to know the truth. I opened the file. I started reading. I couldn't stop. The file was thick. It was full of papers. It was full of everything. Emily Wright, age 15. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: fatigue, headaches, dizziness. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 17. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: stomach pain, nausea, fever. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 19. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: joint pain, swelling, inflammation. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 22. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitations. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 25. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: vision problems, hearing loss, neurological symptoms. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 28. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: muscle weakness, paralysis, seizures. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Emily Wright, age 30. Brought in by mother. Mother reports symptoms: memory loss, confusion, dementia. Examination shows no evidence of illness. No diagnosis. Mother is told to bring daughter back if symptoms persist. Dr. Thompson notes, I have seen this pattern before. The mother is creating symptoms. She is making up illnesses. She is using her daughter as a way to get attention. This is a form of medical abuse. I am documenting this. I am keeping a file. I am going to make sure someone knows the truth. I read the entire file. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. I realized everything. My sister was never sick. My mother made it up. She created an illness to get attention. She used my sister to get what she wanted. She lied to everyone for 25 years. I called Dr. Thompson. I said, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" He said, "I didn't know how. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't think you were ready. But I think now you are." I said, "Dr. Thompson, thank you. Thank you for keeping the file. Thank you for telling me the truth." He said, "Cassandra, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I'm sorry for everything." I said, "It's okay. I understand. You were trying to protect me. I know that now." I went to my sister's house. She was living in a big house. She had a new car. She had everything. She was surprised to see me. She said, "Cassandra, what are you doing here? You didn't call." I said, "Emily, we need to talk." I placed the file on the table. I said, "Emily, do you know what this is?" She said, what is this? I said, this is a file from Dr. Thompson. It's a file on you. It's a file on everything Mom did to you. I started reading from the file. I read about the fake symptoms. I read about the fake illnesses. I read about the fake everything. I read about all the doctor visits. I read about all the tests. I read about all the appointments. My sister started to cry. She said, Cassandra, I didn't know. I didn't know what she was doing. I just thought I was sick. I just thought I was ill. I didn't know she was making it up. I said, Emily, how could you not know? How could you not realize what was happening? She said, Cassandra, I was a child. I trusted her. She was my mother. I believed everything she told me. I didn't know she was lying. I said, Emily, you were a child. But you grew up. You became an adult. You had 25 years to figure it out.
Why didn't you?
She said, Cassandra, I was scared. I was confused. I didn't know how to tell anyone. I didn't know how to ask for help. I was trapped. I said, Emily, you were trapped. But you could have escaped. You could have told someone. You could have asked for help. You could have saved yourself. She said, Cassandra, I was weak. I was scared. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I went to my mother's house. She was living in a small apartment. She had nothing. My mother was sitting on the couch. She was old. She was tired. She was alone. I said, Mom, we need to talk. I placed the file on the table. I said, Mom, do you know what this is?
She looked at it.
She said, what is this? I said, this is a file from Dr. Thompson. It's a file on Emily. It's a file on everything you did. I started reading from the file. I read about the fake symptoms. I read about the fake illnesses. I read about the fake everything. My mother started to cry. She said, Cassandra, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was just trying to help. I was just trying to protect my family. I said, Mom, you didn't protect anyone. You destroyed everyone. You destroyed Emily. You destroyed Dad. You destroyed me. You destroyed everything. She said, Cassandra, I know I made mistakes. I know I was wrong. I know I should have been better. But I was afraid. I was afraid of losing attention. I was afraid of losing control. I was afraid of losing everything. I said, Mom, you lost everything. You lost your family. You lost your children. You lost everything. And it's your fault. It's all your fault. She said, Cassandra, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Please forgive me. I said, Mom, I can't forgive you. I can't forget what you did. I can't pretend like this didn't happen. I went to my father's house. He was living in a small apartment. He was alone. He was sitting in his chair. He looked old. He looked tired. He looked defeated. I said, Dad, we need to talk. I placed the file on the table. I said, Dad, do you know what this is? He said, what is this? I said, this is a file from Dr. Thompson. It's a file on Emily. It's a file on everything Mom did. I started reading from the file. I read about the fake symptoms. I read about the fake illnesses. I read about the fake everything. My father started to cry. He said, Cassandra, I didn't know. I didn't know what she was doing. I just thought Emily was sick. I just thought she needed help. I said, Dad, how could you not know? How could you not see what was happening? He said, Cassandra, I was blind. I was trusting. I believed everything your mother told me. I didn't question anything. I just accepted everything. I said, Dad, you were supposed to protect us. You were supposed to be there for us. You were supposed to help us. But you didn't. You just stood by. You just watched. You just did nothing. He said, Cassandra, I'm sorry. I know I made mistakes. I know I was wrong. I know I should have been better. But I was afraid. I was afraid of your mother. I was afraid of what she would do. I didn't talk to my mother for 3 years. I didn't call her. I didn't visit her. I didn't want to see her. My mother called me once. She said, Cassandra, it's Christmas. I want you to come home. I want to spend the holidays together. I said, Mom, I don't have a home. I haven't had a home since you destroyed everything. I'm never coming back. She said, Cassandra, you're breaking my heart. You're breaking the family. You need to come home. I said, Mom, you broke my heart. You broke it when you faked Emily's illness. You broke it when you gave her everything. You broke it when you ignored me. You broke it when you didn't care. And I'm never coming back. I started to heal. I started to let go. I started to move on. I went to therapy. I talked to someone. I worked through my pain. I worked through my anger. I worked through everything. I learned to forgive. I learned to let go. I learned to move on. I found peace. I found happiness. I found love. I never went back to my family. I never saw them again. I never wanted to. I built a new family. I built a new life. I built a new home. If you've ever been invisible to your own family, I want you to hear something. You didn't deserve what happened to you. You didn't deserve to be ignored. You didn't deserve to be forgotten. You didn't deserve to be invisible. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be believed. You deserve to be loved. My name is Cassandra Wright. I'm 40 years old. I was invisible to my family for 25 years. And I'm still standing. If this story made you feel something, drop a comment below. Tell me the word that describes what you feel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Subscribe for more stories like this. Thank you for listening to mine.